There we go. Almost didn't work. Almost. Almost. A little worried, but now here I am. You know, the connection should be better than last week. No, it was last week. I had Wi-Fi, but I've had to set up a new Wi-Fi network in my dad's condo, and it should work. It's been really good. So when I hit the go live button and it just kept going like this, like this, like this, like going live, going live, going live, going live, going, and it wasn't doing anything, I was getting a little worried. Gotta be honest with you. You never know how things are going to go. I mean, it seems like once a year, at least, something weird goes on somewhere. And YouTube, you should all know when YouTube makes changes to the workflow you do for anything, whether it's uploading a video, a regular video, or doing a live show, if they make changes, they will not tell you. You'll just go in there one day, it'll be like it's always been. You go in the next day, and it's all different. They never tell you anything. So there you go. But I am here, and it is February 9th, 2022. Can't believe it. Time is flying. I've been here in Pennsylvania for 18 days. And it's finally getting a little warmer here. The snow, we got a ton of snow since you saw me last. But it's warmed up, starting to melt. There's still a lot of snow on the ground. You can see, like out by my father's place here in this condo, you can see where rabbits have come up to the condo, and you see deer tracks and all sorts of stuff. It's kind of neat. But finally, it's warmed up a little bit. But I have to be honest with you that if I'm going to be here, I just wish it would snow the whole time here and be zero the whole time. In contrast to what it is right now. So, but as you can see, I'm here in my bedroom in Renfrew, PA, and I'm ready to talk to all of you. I, of course, brought a fantastic lineup of things to talk about tonight, and I will cover that over the next almost 2 hours. So let's see who is in here. By the way, as I'm going through this, do not forget, you know what I'm going to say. Most of you watch the live show every week. You already know what I'm going to say. Give this video a thumbs up if you could. You know it's going to be good. You don't have to wait till 2 hours from now to say, did he earn that thumbs up or didn't he? You know it's going to be good. Just do it. Karen, hello, Karen. Hello, Donna. What's going on with Donna? Hello, Valerie. Laura, bringing up Brandon Lawson. Going to have I certainly have it on the agenda for tonight to talk about Brandon Lawson's disappearance and his remains being found. A lot to talk about there. Jill, hey, y'all. The Real says, hey, I'm sitting at a picnic table in a park right now. Okay, with my hot chips and my banana-flavored milk. Wow. Okay, so descriptive. K-Dog, what's up? I think everything has battery charge to keep going for a couple hours. I hope so, Real. We don't want to lose you. Hello, Jasmine. Hey, there's Delane. Twinkle. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. The gang's all here. Now we just need Ed. Yeah, I'm here. And Kathy. There's Kathy. And hello, Cherie, Charlie Bravo. Doing the moderating tonight. Hopefully you won't have to do a lot of work tonight, Cherie. Christy, what's going on? Good to see you, Christy B. And yeah, I've been missing Delane too. Delane has had stuff going on. Hello, Mary and Sharon and Marilyn from sunny California. Marilyn, you are perfectly permitted to rub it in. All right, so we got a nice showing here. Want to remind you once again, please give this video a thumbs up as you are watching tonight, or if you're watching way down the road, and let's just pick out a year, 2462 AD. You can also give this video a thumbs up. We'll all be long gone, but trust me, I'll be somewhere in the ethereal plane And I will know that you gave it a thumbs up, and I will thank you. So just do that. If you'd also like to contribute to Unfound while you are watching tonight, some of you have seen people do this before, and some of you have done it yourself. Please consider hitting the super chat button. That's that little square with the $ in the middle to monetarily contribute to this channel. And thumbs up. Thank you, Sharon. And Cherie says 70 degrees in Texas today, Cherie. That is nice to hear. Good for you. Mary says from sunny Michigan. Look at that. And another assistant in the chat tonight, Carrie. What's going on, Carrie? Good to see you. I've been meaning to ask you, of course, we're not going to talk about it publicly here, but I've been meaning to ask you about that FOIA that you filed on that certain case. Don't say any names or anything here, but I've been meaning to ask you about that. All right. So, yes, I'm still here. It's February 9th. I'm predicting I'm going to be here till at least close to the end of the month for a variety of reasons. Trying to work on seeing if Dad can try to take whatever tests he needs to take a lot earlier than April, with a chance to get his driver's license back, because I didn't sign up. I'm driving him around. It's my responsibility to do so. I don't feel bad about doing that, but he and I would both be happier if he had his driver's license. So there's that. Otherwise, this past weekend on Saturday, my brother Michael in Pittsburgh had a little get together and went down there. It was one of the days when it was still a lot of snow on the ground, very, very cold. And hung out there, had dinner, had chicken with that was very good. We had some asparagus, we had cherry pie, and all of these things. And my brother Michael and his wife are excellent cooks. My sister Diane and her husband were there, and we just kind of hung out and talked, and it was a nice time. And then on Sunday, my dad and I went out to my sister's, who lives in Canfield, Ohio. And my sister is remodeling her kitchen, and she is getting new countertops put in. And so they had to take the old countertops out. And it was a little too much for one person or my sister and her husband to do these countertops. Very, very heavy. So we went out there, and I helped Jim, my sister's husband. We kind of carried them, but we did a lot of other things too. We pushed them. We put them on rollers. We did all sorts of things to get them out of the kitchen. One we had took down into the basement, down a flight of stairs, which was no fun. And then we took the other tops, which, like I said, very, very heavy. I'm going to say 400 pounds or something, 350, 400 pounds probably each. And we took both of those outside. So we're outside, pushing them, sliding them in the snow. It's bitterly cold out, and Jim and I had a good laugh about it. Took us a while, probably over an hour to get it all done. There were some little things that Jim had to do with each of them, but so that's where I was on Sunday out in Ohio, and then came back. We went to eat then, and then my dad and I came back to Pennsylvania. And of course, I did an interview that you will hear this Friday on Sunday evening. And also, of course, the Think Tank occurred on Sunday. If you don't know what the Think Tank is, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast if you'd like to check that out. And I'll be talking about that in a moment. So I've gotten to see some family members since the last time you saw me. And in fact, as I'm talking about this, I'm reminded my brother Michael called me yesterday, and I didn't call him back today. Totally slipped my mind. Very busy today. Did the interview for next Friday's episode today. And then I was recording Friday's episode today. And Also, what else did I do? Sat and watched a movie with my dad, and so it's the day has kind of flown a little bit. So that's what are some of the things that have been going on with me since you saw me last. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. Still waiting on that, Carrie. Okay, thank you. Marilyn says Santa Cruz, born and raised in SoCal. Kathy talking to Delane. What is the drive from Pennsylvania, Ohio? I will tell you exactly what it is. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from my dad's house to my sister's house. If you were to look at a map, Sheree, you would see 422 in Western Pennsylvania. You take 422 west, and that turns in the numbers flip around. It goes from 422 to 224. And you take 224 and you take it a little bit into Ohio, and my sister only lives a mile to the south of that road 224. So it's just getting on 422. It changes to 224. There are a lot of lights, though, over in Ohio, and that's how you get there. About an hour and 15 minutes. Carrie says, I hope they already have the new countertops. They do not. Carrie, good question. They do not. So right now, their kitchen has no countertops, so you can look right down into the drawers. Valerie, thank you. And Sheree says, I spent a lot of time in Ohio. First time I learned about bagels. Huh. What part of Ohio, Sheree? This would be Eastern Ohio, Youngstown, Boardman, Canfield area. In fact, it's the area near where Charlotte Paulus went missing. So glad. Thanks, Twinkle. Trying to do what I can. Christine said, just got here. Hi, everyone. Got stuck in snow. Ed's fault because of wishing for a ton of snow last week. I'm in Northeast Ohio. I'm sorry to jinx it, Christine. I apologize. But I was over in Ohio, so I know all about that snow. My sister was showing me pictures. She certainly got more snow over there than we did here, and we got a lot of snow. But you get a lot more, of course, in that area. Eastern Ohio going up toward Cleveland, toward the Great Lake there, Lake Erie. You do get more snow there than you do where we are, but still got a lot. Carrie says a lot of cabinets and countertops that are back ordered with all vendors. I don't know what to tell you, Carrie. I don't know. All I know, Carrie, is what they got is quartzite is what they're putting in their place. Geneva on Lake Ohio. I know where that is, Christine. I know where that is. So there's that. Also, you might find this interesting that I've maybe talked about this a little bit. I'm discovering as I get older that I'm becoming slightly lactose intolerant. It's very dependent. I think it has a lot to do with my allergies, and I have many allergies. Certain foods, dust, certain animals, and all sorts of stuff. So, in fact, I can assure you, if I were in Florida right now, that surely my allergies would be kicking my butt. It is this time of year when my allergies really go nuts in Florida. Of course, up here in Pennsylvania, everything's dead or dormant or whatever, so just not the same thing. But I really have to watch my allergies. That's why I carry an inhaler, one of those, things. But also, my sister and I on Sunday, we're talking about FODMAP and your body becoming overtly intolerant to things with sugar in them, fructose, causing gas issues and all of that. And I'm starting to have a little bit more and more of that as I get into my 50s as well. It must be genetic once again. My sister has fought that for a while. So we had this really deep, while we were eating on Sunday, I think my dad and my sister's husband, just kind of said they were talking. And then my sister and I, we were going through these apps. She was showing the apps that she uses on her phone regarding foods that you can and can't eat when the issue is having irritable bowel syndrome and things like that. And so I found this to be very interesting. And I started looking at that list and I'm like, oh, now these things are starting to make sense. So I think that, and probably it's been going on for a long time. I just didn't know what it was. So I can tell you, once I get back into my normal routine, go back to Florida shopping for myself, it's going to be something that's on my mind. So I realize it's a very popular affliction out there. And so if you also suffer from, once again, that FODMAP, it's kind of intolerance to certain foods, and I wouldn't necessarily say that you're allergic to them, and I wouldn't necessarily say that this stuff can kill you, but it's certainly uncomfortable. And for example, I grew up eating apples. My grandfather had an apple orchard. I'd go help him pick apples, red apples, green apples. He had pears and a garden with vegetables. I mean, very impressive. And I grew up eating apples like they were going out of style when I was a kid. I cannot eat apples now, and I haven't been able to eat apples for a very long time, and it's because of the fructose, the sugar in them. It's one of the worst things. It just sets my body off and makes me feel all sorts of weird things. So, I loved apple pie and apple fritters and apple this and apple sauce and apple this and that. Can't do any of it anymore. Certainly not a whole apple, not even, even if you were to have like some fruit mix or something you can get at the grocery store where the apples are already diced and they're mixed in with other vegetables. I can't even do that. Even just one or two slices of an apple, no, can't do it. So my sister and I had a nice talk about that, and it was very informative. And being that she's been dealing with that, very helpful to me. I guess this is one of the nice things about having a sister and two brothers who are so much older than I am. It's kind of like having GPS. It's kind of telling you where you're going years from now. So that's what's going on with me as well. But I feel fantastic. But I just realized that I need to get even more particular about some of the things that I'm buying to eat and some of the things that I'm eating. So what else is everybody saying here? Upper Arlington near Columbus, right next door to Wendy's house. The franchise at Wendy's lived next door to my grandparents. Wow, Sheree, I didn't know that. Delane says we went through the beginnings of snow driving back to Iowa the other week. Funny you should mention that, Delane. I've certainly got to work on my snow driving skills since I've been here, skills that I haven't used in a long time. I still got it. I don't even know what that is, what you're talking about. You should make a video about the mysterious M cave. I don't even know what that is. Check that out, Sheree, if you could. Sharon, you're very generous there. That is what Sharon did there, is the super chat, that little green box. Thank you for the phrase from you that makes me / yes, patreon.com / Unfound Podcast. I don't know why. I think I've told people why they do that. When Dennis Miller had his radio show, I don't know, over 10 years ago or something, I would listen to him, and he would always accent the / DennisMiller.com / So it's not original, Sharon. I can admit it. All right. Carrie says, we have a lot of high atmospheric pressure right now, about to be the death of me, hurt everywhere. Getting into, you must be a meteorologist or something, Carrie, with that high mirror stuff. Upper and lower. Lou says, histamine intolerant myself. Yeah. Yeah, Lou. Just certain things that set me off, that probably things that I just really didn't even know what was going on. And it's only been maybe, Lou, within the last 5 years that I have taken my allergies seriously. For a long time, just tried to work around them. But then within the last 5 years, 6 years, I've actually looked at the medicine that I can get and all of that. Okay, I have an Admiral Fitzgerald storm glass, and I swear I can see the crystals in it when I have migraines and nerve pain. Yeah, migraines don't even get me started, although I've not had any since I've come up here to Pennsylvania. Delane says our new grandberry baby is lactose intolerant, so my daughter has to cut out all dairy. Yeah. You know what, Delane, that might not, I know it's very inconvenient. And of course, cow milk has a lot of benefits and things, but maybe in the long run, she's your grandbaby is going to be that until she gets to a toddler and a teenager. That might not be all bad, although maybe at this point it's not so great. LaReal says this Aussie learned how to spell Punxsutawney after last week's episode. I was blown away. Look at you. Be very careful, LaReal. You start being able to spell Punxsutawney and you might just become an American. Be very, very careful. Hello, Fishing. What's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So those are some of the things that have gone on since you saw me last. And of course, last week I talked about my Punxsutawney Phil story, my Groundhog Day story. But you know the weird thing? We went right by Groundhog Day, and I did not see that movie on TV at all. Not like the days before or the day of or the days after. Now I've seen it many times, but when it's on, I turn it on. I didn't see it at all. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know. So is there anything else? I've been following disc golf tournaments that I was supposed to play in, but of course I came up here. So I get to follow them live, see how some of the guys were shooting and, seeing how I might have done had I been able to play. I guess the good news is the last tournament I played in, I won in my division. So it's nice to live on that win for a little bit. And maybe another big story regarding disc golf is probably surely one of the best known, not the best known, but certainly one of the best known disc golfers to come out of Florida. His name is John E. McRae. It's Johne McRae. And has been known to be a great player for a long time. Not quite as good as Kenny Klima, who is considered to be one of the best of all time. But Johnny's a really good player. He's around my age. He just turned 50. Now, if you were to put me and him next to each other, you would think probably that he's much older than I am. But I'm actually like a year and a half older than he is. And he's been playing for a very, very long time. Well, he was at a tournament in Orlando this weekend. He's 50 years old, had a heart attack. And luckily they got him to the hospital. I think he's going to be okay. But if there's ever something that can get your attention as a 50-year-old guy, it's that. Especially when you know this guy. Maybe I've talked to him once or twice. He wouldn't probably know who I am. But I know who he is, and he's a professional, and he's made a lot of money playing disc golf. But he was getting ready. I think he was actually happened during the round that he started having chest pains and says, I think I got to get out of here. Luckily, he did. And so I hear that he's up and walking around, but he did have the surgery and all of that. And that's, of course, something that he's going to have to manage for the rest of his life. Now, I will tell you, and if any of Johnny's friends or Johnny himself sees this, this is not to offend anybody, but I would not say if you looked at Johnny McRae, he looked like some guy who really took care of himself. Obviously, great disc golf player, obviously athletic, obviously. And he's a great guy. But on the other hand, maybe in retrospect, he could have watched his health and things maybe a little bit better. But even so, I'm a guy who is not overweight and does really, really watch his stuff and go to the doctor and get my blood tested and all those things. And I take cholesterol medicine, but still, when somebody who's playing a sport that I play, who's around my age, has that happen to him, it certainly gets my attention. And it becomes, comes to the forefront of my mind. So that's something that happened this weekend down there in Orlando. So once again, if you're watching this, whether on your phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, I don't know, in your car, wherever you are, please give this video a thumbs up as you are watching. Marlene says, hi from Manitoba, Canada. I've never been to Manitoba, Marlene. I've been to Canada many times, but only to Ontario. Sharon said, I never heard Dennis Miller say, but you have taken it over. I think he only ever did it. I don't think he does it in any of his comedy routines or anything like that, Sharon, but I'm pretty sure that's where I got it from way back in the day on his radio show. Going back and forth about babies, that's free to do that. Cherie says, my husband had a stroke at 26. He was 5'9", 165 pounds. Genetic will kill you quicker than anything. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Cherie. Yeah, I don't know. Of course, I don't know Johnny that well. I don't know what his family history is or anything. I don't even know if he has any brothers or sisters off the top of my head. But certainly genetics certainly play a huge part. What was I just talking about? My sister with some of these food issues that she has to watch. I'm now coming into that myself. My brother Michael, he wasn't 50, but he must have been about 58, 59. And it's kind of the same thing for him, that he was bowling and didn't feel too good. Next day he goes to the doctor and the doctor says, you're going right to the hospital. And he had a mild heart attack at 58, 59 years old. My biological father, he had some heart issues, but not until later than his 50s. So it's something that I need to watch out for. And likewise, my brother Brian has fought off cancer several years ago, and he's doing fantastic now. You just got to watch out for these things. But I agree with you, Cherie. Genetics plays such a huge part. Cherie says, I can't see it and I broke my glasses. I'm using an older pair. Okay, Cherie. Yeah, okay, Cherie. You're right about inheriting stuff. We inherit so much. Yeah. Delane, I inherited an autoimmune disease and hoping it ends with me. Okay, Delane. All right, so there's some personal stuff, just some stories, insights and things that are going on with me. Of course, we have the Super Bowl this weekend, and I've moved the think tank to Monday because of that. So let's see what's going on for the rest of the week. And all right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the items, the true crime items. I guess you could say somewhat Unfound related. And we will start where we usually do with the Andrea Knabel poll. If you are new to Unfound and maybe aren't in the discussion group, on Saturday mornings, which would be the morning after the episode comes out, I post a poll in the discussion group where I try to get people's feel for what they think happened to that missing person. Sometimes I have to admit it's hard to come up with a good poll question because sometimes it's kind of very straightforward. And then others are a little harder to put a finger on. I would say Andrea's was one where the question was easy to write. And I simply asked, what do you think happened to Andrea Knabel? Did she walk off and something happened to her without anybody else's help? Did she get picked up by somebody and then something happened? Or because, and this is something I guess that came out in the series that was done on Andrea's disappearance. I've not seen it, but I had enough people tell me about it or message me about it that in that docuseries, I guess it was 4 episodes, they seemed to, in so many words, try to say that Ethan and Sarah could be responsible for Andrea's disappearance. And of course, they were at that house. Her phone last pinged at the house. But I included that choice in this poll as well. And the number one choice of people who took part in the poll in the discussion group. If you're not in the discussion group, facebook.com. Just do a search for the Unfound Podcast discussion group. We have almost 9,000 people in there now. And although it just seems like a small percentage of the people who post things and comment, but that's fine. In the discussion group, the number one pick is that she got picked up. That she was there. Of course, we know that she was contacting people, trying to get somebody to pick her up. We don't know if she was successful or not, but that she got picked up and something happened. I guess we could say maybe there was foul play, or maybe that she overdosed or something. That was the number one choice. I will tell you, in the think tank, it was more an opposite direction, believing that she walked off, although there was surely talk regarding her possibly getting picked up. We certainly analyzed that. We certainly talked about Sarah and Ethan as well. But I would say that the number one pick in the think tank was that she walked off. Now, for me, as many of you know, or maybe some of you are going to find it out for the first time, I write a blog every week at patreon.com. I would love for you to be a supporter there. Patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. And you certainly get your money's worth when it comes to the blog there. I write at least 3,000 words on the disappearance for that week. Now, this week, because it was Andrea's, a lot to talk about. Went over 4,000 words on that blog. And there is nobody anywhere who is writing 3,000 words a week about disappearances. Nobody. I'm the only person in the world that does that. And I enjoy it. I enjoy writing the blogs. I've made it easy on myself because I kind of space it out. I do 1,000 words on Friday, 1,000 words on Saturday, 1,000 words on Sunday, or whatever it's going to take on Sunday to get it done. And given that I have a lot of writing experience and I'm a very fast typist, I can get it done. But I write these blogs and I try to give you my insight, the logical progression that I go through to get to the answer that I always write at the end of the blog. I never leave anybody hanging. And what you would read in those blogs, much of it is what I talk to students about. You know that I've done these 2 speaking engagements. My next one's coming up on March 15th. And if you find that kind of thing interesting, if you like to see the behind the scenes of how I personally come to my conclusions, as you know, we do not argue about theories. We don't argue about theories in the think tank. I do not argue with anybody who contacts me about, hey, what do you think on this? What do you think on that? We discuss things. I just give you my opinion, how I come to my answer. If you think that would be interesting, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. But I will tell you this, I think that she walked off as well. So also on the Patreon, we might be switching up some of the things on Patreon this year. There's other things that are going to be going on before that. But I'm thinking about, of course, all the things that exist are going to stay. But I'm still thinking about some ideas on how to, make it better. I'm always thinking about that. I'm always thinking about how to make the episodes better, thinking about how to make this show better, how to make the channel better, the website, and I get a lot of input from my assistants, and I certainly appreciate their help. So once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast if you'd like to support the program and get some cool stuff at the same time. Shri says Super Bowl halftime is going to be fire. Shri, I'm going to tell you, I don't even know who the Super Bowl halftime show is. I don't even know. Delane says, I love reading the blogs, but only after the think tank. I don't want you to influence my interpretation. I think that's the best way to do it. Anybody who knows, as you've heard me say before, Delane, when we do those think tanks on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern, it's not a prerequisite that you need to read what I wrote before doing the think tank. People can do it whatever they want. And truthfully, sometimes when we're having the think tank, I haven't even finished the blog yet, so then it makes it really convenient that, of course, you can't read it. Sheree says, lots of great things coming for Unfound in 22, and I'm going to be talking about a few of those things before we're all done here tonight. So thank you, Sheree. Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Kendrick Lamar. That's news to me. I have to admit, Sheree, I have no idea. I would have to say my favorite Super Bowl performance ever was when Prince did it. And it was raining. He did, he did that Foo Fighters song. He did Purple Rain. I thought that, and I'm a huge Prince fan anyway. I thought that was probably the best Super Bowl halftime show that I ever saw. So maybe if we want to have some fun with something, maybe I could post that in the discussion group. I'll go back and look at all the performances of the last so many years, Sheree. Maybe I'll put that as a poll question in the discussion group on Super Bowl Sunday. I'll think about that. Thank you for bringing it up. Pamela says, I was surprised to see the comments on the last podcast on YouTube, and I just read the Brandon Lawson update mentioned above. Wow. Yeah, moving on. Yes, some of you have noticed and even messaged me as thinking it was a mistake, which is just, it's kind of funny. I have decided to open up the comments section on certain videos just to see how it's going to go. As most of you know, for a long time, there were no comments on any videos for reasons that I've talked about over and over and over. But being that I've seen some changes coming to the program, to the YouTube channel, opening my mind, changing my mind, that is one of those things that I'm experimenting on. I give you no guarantees. If it doesn't go the way I want it, I'll just shut them all down again, and I won't feel bad about that. My concern is when family members go to the YouTube channel and they go to their loved one's episode on there, and the way that happens is it used to be Natasha. Of course, now I'm doing it myself, putting the audio with pictures or whatever, and they want to go see those pictures, and they tell people go to the channel. The last thing that I want is for them to go there and go down into the comments section and see trolls, and all these, and also these types of things. I don't want that. That doesn't help anybody. So as long as people behave themselves, I will continue to open up more and more and more and more and more. But if people can't control themselves and they want to be rude, and it's just maybe a dig at the program, the comments have nothing to do with the actual episode. Maybe they take a dig at me, my assistants, this, that, and the other thing. It's just, nothing but, trivialities and things. Then I'll shut it down. I just have no time for that. So we'll see. Some of the comments on some of the videos are open right now. Mainly newer videos that have been posted within maybe like the last month to 6 weeks. But I'm sure if you go back to the older videos that have posted, those comments are still turned off. Still making a decision. We'll see what happens. So Pamela, yes, if you were surprised, I know why you were surprised. Cherie says, I'm going to send you the trailer. Oh no, where would be Prince's performance? Oh, okay, Cherie, yes. Kathy says, my late husband loved Mary J. Blige. He loves so many singers, tons of them. I'm more selective. Christy says, mine too, Prince. That was awesome. Prince asked if they could make it rain harder. Yes, that's right. That most people think, well, you don't want it to rain. It's going to ruin everything. But it totally made it. It was so good. I mean, he's Purple Rain and it rains. Just crazy. And that's why I love you, Ed. Well, okay, dog. You're so, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Donna, yes, Prince. I'm excited. I'm not even going to watch the game, but it's really a Gen X dream to see them all together. We are Gen Xers, aren't we, Sheree? Latoya, hello. Hey, guys. I've taken a long true crime break. Just wanted to say goodnight from New York City. And, hello to you, Latoya. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Good to see you. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before, but welcome. Kathy, yeah, I don't follow football either, but I follow several other sports like baseball and the Olympics. I've watched a little bit of the Olympics. They better not take a dig at me. Okay, sure. All right. So let's move on. And I think everybody knew that I was going to talk about this, and this would be Brandon Lawson. This is one of those things where on one hand, I'm surprised. On the other hand, I'm not surprised. On one hand, I'm surprised because, I think a lot of times when these disappearances get solved or remains are found, that most of the time we are surprised. And we could even look at both Unfound's disappearances that have been solved. Zoe Campos, Esther Westenbarger, Crystal Morrison. I think the way that all of those came about, somewhat of a surprise. Whereas when we look back at what happened, I don't know if that's much of a surprise. This is the way I look at Brandon Lawson's. Now, I will tell you, as a lot of people, I've known about Brandon Lawson's disappearance for a long time, well before Unfound got started. I'm sure you've known about his disappearance well before Unfound got started. But I will tell you, there has never, ever been a doubt in my mind as to what happened in that disappearance, ever. Despite, this phone call and people hearing somebody's voice in the background and everything. And I listened to that. I know there was some video. There was a recording on video that has been up there forever. You could just go listen to it over and over and over and over. And people would say they could hear something. And I'll tell you, even at 51, my ears are pretty dang good. I just never heard that. It sounded like normal cell phone static to me. All sorts of things that got started, all sorts of places on web sleuths and elsewhere that the cops are involved and Brandon might have seen something. And it just never, ever seemed believable to me. And, I can't remember if I actually ever got on web sleuths and got into a discussion on one of those forums about Brandon's disappearance. I really can't remember. I suppose I could go back and check. But, I just remember talking to people and just thinking, there is no conspiracy here. This is a guy who was obviously troubled. Obviously, when you hear him on that recording, he's out of it. He is totally out of it. Just not in his right mind. Certainly sounds like he's on something. Paranoid. And those were the reasons that I thought that here was a guy who was paranoid and who knows what else was going on, and he took off. Now, I had many people tell me that couldn't have happened. Look, it's a wide open space, and that couldn't have happened. He had to have gotten picked up, and this, that, and the other thing. And granted, when I first found out about Brandon's disappearance, I am not the person I am now. I have now 240 disappearances that I've covered. You've listened to most, if not all of them. Hopefully you have learned things like I have learned over the past 5+ years. But even more so, if Brandon Lawson's disappearance were to happen today, same circumstances, I would think even more so that there was no foul play. And this was just a guy having a bad night. Maybe due to drugs, maybe due to mental illness, a combination of things. And then you put that with some of these disappearances that we have covered that are kind of like it, like Robbie Hurt, for example. It doesn't sound, that doesn't then sound so crazy that he just took off all by himself. And if there is something that I could change, to educate people about disappearances, is that they have to realize that this particular scenario is common. Maybe even more common than I thought when I got started. Not as common as foul play, but certainly something that should always be considered. That so many people with Brandon Lawson's disappearance were so quick to say, oh, that couldn't have happened. It's much more common for people to have their car on the side of the road and then run off than their car on the side of the road and get picked up and never seen again. So there's that. The other part, and maybe this shouldn't be a surprise to us either, is that where was he found? He was found on a piece of property that was not searched all the other times. This sounds like Crystal Morrison's disappearance all over again. Why she remained missing for 10 years or whatever it was. Same reason. And I think what this should teach all of us is when police, searchers, whoever else, whether they're very experienced searchers or not so experienced searchers, they tell us, we've done everything we can. We've searched every square foot. We've done this. And my impression is the searches for Brandon Lawson, fairly extensive, although I don't know how many happened recently until the one that actually found him. I know a lot of people did a lot of searching for him out there because he was well-known. It was a well-known disappearance. We have to start doubting more and more when people said, oh yeah, it was a complete search. We searched every square foot. That obviously is not true. We should never take that for granted ever again. This then we can maybe put that with like Jason Landry's disappearance, where once again the insistence is we have searched everywhere we could. Within a couple miles of where his car was found wrecked up against the fence. Because really, Jason Landry's disappearance, Brandon Lawson's disappearance are the same. I'm not saying Jason was doing drugs. I'm not saying he was having a mental breakdown or illness or anything else. But they are certainly similar. So this is why I've come to the conclusion that with Jason Landry, he is, unfortunately, I believe he is deceased. His remains are in the immediate area of his car. Why? Because we now know that that's what happened with Brandon Lawson. We now know that's what happened with Robbie Hurt. And I'm sure we could think about a lot of other disappearances, whether they were covered by Unfound or not. So I just think that, and I hate saying this, but it came out, and that article that came out at narratively.com last month with Dylan interviewing me while I was out in Greeley, Colorado. Of course, I said a lot, but probably one of the best points I made in that conversation that actually got put in the article is what I said. People become so married to their theory that they would rather the disappearance not be solved and them just get to feel good about themselves and their theory than the disappearance be solved and it's a different theory than what that person thinks. They would rather go unsolved and their ego be protected than the opposite. I am convinced of that. I think it's a lot of that goes on, especially where people are talking back and forth about disappearances. Reddit, web sleuths, places like that. And Brandon Lawson's disappearance strikes me as one of those. How do all those people now feel who insist that it was the police and this and that, when we now know that the reason that Brandon wasn't found immediately is because there was just some property owner there that says, I'm not allowing anybody to go on my property. So I just really can't say I'm surprised at all by that. Let's see. Sherry says really baseball. Latoya, how was Brandon Lawson found near his car? Weird. Because that area, for some reason, the first, second, and 10th times around Latoya was never searched. Why the property owner would not allow anybody on there. And then finally, I guess somebody convinced this property owner to have a heart, or maybe the property changed ownership. They got to go on there. And I guess this was some program or podcast people that were out there doing this and were able to do that. And congratulations to them. Very happy for them. I don't think it's weird at all. This is very common that people aren't found because certain homeowners, landowners won't allow people on their property, and then they'll change their mind. The property will go to somebody else, or they themselves will happen upon the remains on their property later. It's common. Sheree says, I listened so many times to that call, I still figured he was right where he went missing. I was fascinated with the call. It's certainly fascinating, the call. Delane says, yeah, I didn't hear anything either, even with headphones and earbuds. Very paranoid with broken thoughts and just really sounded out of touch with reality. Kathy, yeah, Brandon was hallucinating. All the people he thought were chasing him. Yeah. And this is something we should remember as we look at disappearances that seem similar to his. We certainly should do that. That's how you learn. Latoya says, I thought he was killed at first. I'm not going to blame anybody who initially thought that, but as it just goes on, and if people really take a look at the disappearance community and all these disappearances put together, you start to understand how rare it is for somebody to get pulled over to, and he ran out of gas and then he got picked up by somebody and that person, killed him or whatever. That is rare. It happens, but it's so rare. This is why with Mara Murray, same way. I'm still convinced she is within a mile or two of where she wrecked her car. Still convinced. 15, 16, 17 years later. Sheree says, Jason Landry, Jacob Meeks, Paddock Weeks, Paul Sanders, so many more. Yes. Thank you, Sheree. Carrie says, I wasn't surprised he was found so close to his truck location. Charlie, it was well known because the sheriff's wife worked for the local newspaper, and there was a little bit of inappropriateness going on. You Texas people, sure. Jason's case, they need to search a couple mile radius from furthest out item that belonged to him, starting to the right. Rule of right is pretty accurate. Delane, is Robbie the one that was close to the VA? Yes, that's right, Delane. Yep. Wow, good view about the pet case people. Latoya, I believe that. I don't say things to get people's attention. I've just been around the true crime community. I was one of the first people to be on the forum for findjody.com back in 2002 or something. Been a member of Web Sleuths for a long time, although I haven't written anything on there for a very, very long time. But you start to see that after a while. People become very passionate and things, and they ignore statistics. They ignore rationality. They avoid logical. It just seems weird to me when people will pick out the theory that, given the statistics we know and other results that we know, they pick the choice that is least probable. It's always weird to me. Carrie says, I think it was a new property owner, Sheree. It was actually an advocate that had been with the family from the beginning. The podcasters just happened to be on that search, but they weren't responsible for it. Thank you for filling all the blanks in, Sheree. I've had to take a step away from certain forums. I have zero interest in bickering over theories, but somehow I still managed to get targeted. Yeah. As people know, people will send me messages and opinions and things like that. And I really, really try to avoid getting into deep discussions about theories with, anybody. Boston says, dang, I'm going to be going back to listen to the beginning. Well, you can do that, Boston actress. K-Dog says, good night. After work meeting. Okay, K-Dog. Latoya, what's with these property owners not wanting searches for missing persons cases? Very selfish. Latoya, I don't know. I don't know. It's certainly their right to do that. It's all about adjusting expectations. It's acceptance of fact. Jill says, Delane says, a case in Canada where a body was found in a swamp near where he lived. OPP said they searched swamp, then said they didn't, then they did, blah, 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 blah. Kathy, yeah, I think Mari Murrow went to hide out not far from a wrecked car and couldn't survive the cold temperatures. Yeah, thank you. Boston, I'm assuming you're talking about Brandon. I can't understand how it took this long with willing property owners. Well, we had at least one unwilling property owner, Boston. I have pet cases, but when information changes, so does your opinion. Yeah, yes, right. As facts change, theories change. So, I suppose we could start, people are like thinking, well, that might be a disappearance that's never solved. And I think we could say that about any disappearance that goes for a period of time. Man, I just don't ever think it's going to get solved. And then it just comes out of nowhere. Andrea Bowman. I'm going to talk about her in a minute. Dennis Bowman going to jail, being charged with her murder. Zoe Campos, 5 years of suspicions and accusations and theories, and then all of a sudden, they're unfortunately digging up her remains in the backyard of Carlos Rodriguez. Things seem to happen suddenly. So that's what I have to say about Brandon Lawson. I'll say it again. It always seemed clear to me that he was a troubled young man. He did not sound very mentally healthy on that call. He did seem paranoid, and it made all the sense in the world that he thought somebody was after him, but that was not the case. He could have been in the process of overdosing and stumbles over there and dies, and nobody sees him. There's just never been much doubt in my mind at all. Yeah, Karen Nichols. I'm going to talk about Karen Nichols. That's another very surprising one. Thank you, Cherie. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to this. Being that we are on YouTube, I want to let you know that the YouTube channel is going to be going through some changes in the next couple weeks. And I need to thank Cherie, of course, moderator of this YouTube show, this live show on Wednesday nights, Charlie Bravo. For those of you who don't know who she is, she's the one with the little blue wrench by her name. She has been an assistant of mine since, I think, the summer of 2018. In fact, I have to believe, Cherie, one of the first things that you ever did for Unfound as an assistant of Unfound was Karen Nichols' disappearance, and I'll be talking about that in a little bit. So she's been with the program over 3.5 years or something like that. But Cherie and I got to talking, and she was the one who really said, Ed, you got to look into what other people are doing. And I will tell you, my assistants and many of you know much more what other people are doing on their YouTube channels and everything more than I do. And she said, a lot of these YouTube now has these channel memberships, and you should look into that. And so I have looked into it, and I'm going to do it. Now, I want to assure all of you, before you get all crazy, anything that is now free on the YouTube channel will be free. You will not have to sign up for anything. This live show, posting of the episodes on YouTube, everything will be free. However, I am going to be adding some new series, you might call them, to the channel. And the only way you'll be able to access them is through a channel membership. But I'm telling you, it's going to be very, very cheap. All right, there's going to only be one level, and it's going to be cheap. Okay. And some of these things, and I ran these ideas past Cherie a couple days ago. And so these are some of the things that are going to be coming to the channel, I would say, in the next month. And I've yet to set this membership up and everything. But I think these are some things that you will find interesting and will be worth maybe $2.99 a month. Some of these things are going to be, I'm going to start doing a daily update on this YouTube channel. It'll be very, very short. I got this idea from some sports radio show hosts here in Pittsburgh. Before they're like start at 6 in the morning and they go to like 10. Well, before the show starts, the one guy's name is Colin Dunlap, will always do a very short snippet on Twitter for his Twitter followers. Some topic, something that something funny, something interesting. It could have to do with sports. Maybe it doesn't, even though it's a sports show. He hosts a sports show. And he does that 5 days a week when he's going to be on the air Monday through Friday. I like that idea. So what I'm going to do is every day in the morning, I'm going to do a very short video. It may just only be a minute long, where I'm simply going to tell everybody who has a membership what's going on with Unfound today. What am I doing today for Unfound? I may tell you about, I'm going to be writing the next episode. I might, forecast, give you a forecast of what's going to be on the live show on Wednesday nights. I may talk about I'm going to be doing an interview. I may be talking about, well, you know what, I'm going to be speaking at the school today, just to give you an update of what goes on. And I think I'll be able to do that 7 days a week because they're only going to be like a minute. I'm just going to turn on the camera and record it, and it will be posted. So I think a lot of people will find that interesting. And once again, I don't think that this is something that anybody in the true crime world is doing this very quick 1 minute update per day, telling all of you, keeping all of you informed. And it may just be, hey, watch out for this, look out for that, giving you an update on something, but it's not going to be a 2-hour show like this. It's going to be very short. That's going to be one thing. Also, even though the Unfound Nows will continue to be free for everybody, anybody who has a channel membership will get the Unfound episode early. I don't know, 3 days early, 5 days early, a week early. I don't know quite yet, but they will get it early, and then everybody else will get it at a certain time. You know, we already do this kind of with like Unfound on the Ground. That is something that is particular to premium Patreon members, but after a month, we make it available to everybody. So Unfound Now will kind of be like that. It will still be free if you want to wait. But for those of you who get a channel membership, you will get it as soon as it's posted. Also, what I will be doing, for some of you who don't know, with the Patreon blog that I write, I also do an audio version of it. In fact, I use the audio version to edit it, if anybody's wondering about that. It's a great way to edit your own writing by reading it, recording it. So I get the editing and the recording all done at one time. It's efficiency. So I write it, and then I read it and record it, and that's what you end up hearing as the audio blog for all of you Patreon supporters. What I will do is I will post a snippet of that every week. I don't know how many minutes. I haven't figured that out. But an interesting part of that audio blog to YouTube for people who have a membership. It will not be the whole thing, but it will be a snippet. I'll try to be very generous with that. So that will be something. And also, the fourth thing will be, I will also be posting probably on the day before the episode comes out for channel membership people on YouTube. I will post a sneak peek of the episode in which I will play a portion of the interview. A portion, I don't know how long it might be, a minute, it might be 5 minutes, it might be 7 minutes, but it will be, a part of the interview that I think has, some, really good information in it. Of course, I think all the information in an episode, but something that really caught my ear, little forecasting of what will be in the episode itself. These things will all be available to people who are going to sign up for the channel membership. And it's going to be it's just one level, $2.99 a month. And I'm sure I will figure out some other things to add in there. Maybe we'll go to multiple levels sometime, but I'm just going to keep it simple for now. So that is coming. This is something, once again, that Cherie suggested to me, and had a chance to think about it, how to make it interesting, because also, I don't like taking things away from people. That's wrong. But of course, being a creative person, I'm always thinking about new ways of presenting Unfound. What can we do? And I love keeping all of you informed. That's why I'm doing this live show. That's why I love doing the update episodes. That's why I love communicating with so many of you. And so it has to be along those lines. And of course, given that Unfound does so much, I have a lot that I can tap into to add to what already exists, for example, on the YouTube channel. So be looking for these things. I hope you will consider becoming and getting a channel membership. And if there's anything, maybe suggestions that you had for me that would make you want to become, get a channel membership, something that you think I could do, that we could do, you let me know. All right, because I'm always willing to talk about those things. So that is something that is going to be coming to the YouTube channel within the next month when I can find the time to do it. But once it's set up, I'm sure you know me, I'm pretty reliable. All right, so what is everybody saying here? It'll be interesting to see Brandon's case, cause of death. It was, yeah. Kathy asking Boston about all the woods. Thank you, Boston. Her dad pretty much lived there. He brought teams and teams of people. I feel that she would have been found or remains. Boston, the problem is everybody thinks that. And the problem is we just have too many examples that that's not true. I'm not saying people don't get found on the first search or the second search or third search. The problem is we have too many examples of searches that are done over and over and over and over and over for a long time. Nothing is found. And then 10 years later, remains are found in that very area. That happens. Kathy offering her opinion. Boston, that blog is a great addition to the interview. Thank you, Boston. Sheree, also members will get cute emojis to use during the live show. Yeah, Sheree's all about the cute emojis and badges and stuff. It's going to be fun. That's also something. I think we'll keep it probably just regular for now, Sheree, but probably eventually I'll get creative with it. Delane says, per scientist, meth use permanently alters the brain and never recovers, even if meth use is ceased. Yeah. Boston says, I like the emoji ideas and the member's name highlighted in the chat. That will happen, Boston. Delane, cute emojis are fun when they're related to our discussions in the lives. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Okay. We need a magnifying glass for sure. Okay, Sheree, you remind me of that. So some changes are coming to the YouTube channel. I hope you will consider becoming a member. Once again, I want to assure all of you, everything else will still be free. This live show will continue to happen on Wednesday nights like it always does. When I post the episodes on Friday, when I put the pictures and everything, still free. Map analysis, still free. Unfound Now, still free. However, it may be delayed a little bit. The newsletter, which I just posted, still free. All of those things. All right, because I don't believe in taking things away once they've been presented. Moving on. Dennis Bowman charged. Finally, he's been sentenced 35 to 50 years for the murder of Andrea Bowman, otherwise known as Alexis. My opinion is he's still not owning up to this. Per his statement, well, I hit her and she fell down the steps and I had to dispose of her because I was afraid I'm going to get caught. I'm going to go to jail. Won't be able to be with my wife. I won't get to see my other daughter grow up and all these things. I got to tell you, I don't believe it. I believe that he covered it up to save his own butt, but I certainly do not believe his version of events. It just seems, once again, what he's saying is he's blaming it on the stairs. He's not blaming it on himself. Well, I hit her and she fell down the stairs. What he's really saying is, if I hit her and it would just fall to the floor, she'd still be here. So it's the stairs' fault. We have to remember, he was a known killer. He killed Kathleen Doyle in 1980 in Virginia. And so we're supposed to believe that Alexis died by falling down the stairs. I don't believe that for a second. And it seems to me also that his wife is going to get away getting off scot-free. That she's never going to go to jail for anything. Even though, gotta believe she knew something. Now, she's claiming she didn't know anything until Dennis told her just recently, after it came out that he killed Kathleen Doyle. I think that's when she said she finally found out. I don't believe that either. It just sounds to me that Dennis Bowman and his wife are two of the most horrible people who've been on this earth. And I will even go as far to say I'm surprised that their other daughter didn't disappear too. So there's that. But this is, this kind of justice, this is the best we can do on earth, and like I call it, the material world. And for those of you who believe in an afterlife, I guess then there will be justice there if you believe in that type of thing. But I think that we can finally, close the book on Andrea, Alexis, and Dennis Bowman. But I think the other big question still out there is, has he killed other people? I believe that answer. I bring it up every time we talk about Dennis Bowman. The answer is yes. I certainly believe that he did. Certainly. I think what this proves is he killed this woman in 1980. Then he kills his daughter in 1989. Do we really believe that he stayed away from these homicidal urges for 9 years? Especially since he knew he got away with the murder of Kathleen Doyle. You got to believe that he did some other things. And even if you go back and listen to the interview that I did with Kathy Turkanian way back in 2016, she so much as said she even has a couple names of women who she believes their murders or disappearances are still unsolved. And her main suspect is Dennis Bowman. I think the reason we might want to believe Kathy is because she was right about Andrea the whole time. She believed that Andrea had been murdered and her remains were on that property. She was right. So I think that we should all take her words very seriously when she says that Dennis Bowman probably killed other women too. Christy says he is a freaking monster. Latoya, he murdered because she accused him of abuse. Yes, thank you, Latoya. Boss, no, not buying of Dennis Fibber. Yeah, Carrie, Dennis is a massive liar. Still think he has more victims. Yep. Oh, look at those little magnifying glasses, Shuri. Look at you. I have to believe that the wife knew the whole time. Ed, I know you usually do adults. Have you ever looked at the Haley Cummings case? So I don't mean to reject. I kind of know that disappearance, Boston, but I don't think that we've ever reached out to anybody in her family. Carrie, I kind of wanted to start a project, look for all the missing girls in this area residences through the years. Right. So that is Dennis Bowman, finally sentenced. Yeah, he's not getting out of jail before he dies. All right. And once again, it's one of those things that when I covered Alexis's disappearance back in 2016, I don't know if I ever could have predicted that 3 or 4 years from then that her remains would be found, Dennis would be in custody. I don't think that could have ever been predicted in 2016, but I'm glad it happened. Let's take the question. Christy, you are in here. You asked me, you talk so much about how many disappearances we've covered on Unfound. It'll be 241 on Friday. How many of them have been somewhat moved forward, solved, something like that? Christy, I went and counted. The number is 22. So about 10%. Now, each of these are in a variety of stages, Christy. You must understand that. For example, with Dennis Bowman and him, that's pretty much complete. That is one. Remains have been found. The suspect, the killer, is going to jail. Whereas we have some other ones like Tom Brown's, which are still kind of in that purgatory area, but I still consider that to be part of the 22. We have like Chris Turner. His remains were found. We don't know how he died. Christopher Hyde's remains were found. We don't know how he died. We may never know. I would put those in the 22. On the other hand, we have something disappearance like Esther Westenbarger's, where she was found in her car. That also goes on that list. We also have some where the remains have not been found yet, but somebody has been charged. Kamisha Hollis. Her remains have not been found, but the father of her children is eventually going to go on trial for her disappearance, even though she's not been found. Tyler North, his ex-wife and her boyfriend are charged with murder. They're going to go on trial. His remains have not been found yet. But you put all those kind of different combinations together, Christy, the number is 22. Trust me, I wish it was higher. But here on Unfound, I think you know by now, we cover some of the toughest of the toughest of the toughest disappearances out there. We cover a different kind of disappearance every week. In contrast, if you're thinking about like Adventures with Purpose, where it seems like they're finding missing people all the time, I would say that what they're doing is great. It's finally I'm totally happy somebody's doing it, but we also have to remember that they are doing a very, 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 very specific type of research into a specific type of disappearance. And as I've told everybody, people going missing with their cars is only 2% of disappearances overall. 2%. So we have to keep that in mind. And when it comes to that, and like I said, it's not to take anything away from, I hope they just continue to do what they do. What they're essentially doing is they're looking at where the person was in the person's car, where they were going, where they were coming from, and they look at bodies of water in that area and they get on their scuba equipment and go in there. Fine by me, but that's what they're doing. And that's great. The problem is on the other 98% of disappearances, you can't do that. That's the problem. And that's why it's not, it's not as formulaic. So it's a lot tougher. Not to mention, it's a lot tougher to search the woods or something than it is to go down to the bottom of a river or the bottom of a lake. But they can keep doing what they're doing. Good for them. Awesome. Yeah, Cherie's saying, if anyone has any case suggestions, please send them to unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Yes, thank you, Cherie. Laura says, I'm sure you've answered this a million times before, but I'm new to the group. Do you accept requests or recommendations for cases to cover? Well, as you can see, Laura, Cherie just posted that. But Laura, what I would urge you to do is just don't randomly select a bunch of cases. All right, we have more than enough cases that, to talk to people and everything. But what is going to make it more probable that a case does get covered on disappearance does get covered on Unfound is if you have looked into yourself at least a little bit and said, I know that this person's mother has done interviews. I know that she has a Facebook page. Here is her Facebook page. She's even posted her email. If you can give us some good contact information along with it, that makes it way, way, way more probable that that we will look into that disappearance and see what we can do. In contrast, it used to be, there was somebody this person would just randomly email me a list of disappearances. Hey, I think you should cover these. Yeah, well, I'd like to cover all of them. So just keep that in mind, Laura. Boston, are you okay? If you have a connection to a family, thank you, Carrie. 22 is higher than I thought. I wish it was higher. Thank you, Christy. Boston says there's people talking about getting boots on the ground to look for Harmony Montgomery. That's not one that comes to mind. Okay, Boston. Oops, thank you. Boston says, I think what Adventurous Purpose is doing is great, but I have other thoughts on them as well that I will keep to myself. Yeah, no, I realize that there have been people out there that have bashed them. I realize there are people that used to work with them that are now critical of them, and I'm not getting into any of it. Carrie, you are very welcome. Yes, you did, Jill. Yeah. Marlene, hello, everyone. Just got on set and settled in for the evening. Well, Marlene, you've missed a lot, but the good news is you can go back and watch this. So, Christy, that is my answer. To your question. The number is 22. I wish it was higher. Moving on. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, a little too early for me, but I really couldn't arrange it any other way. My dad and I have someplace to go later in the morning. I'm actually going to be talking to a British production company, TV production company, about Janelle Matthews' case. They just emailed me today. And the guy said that he would love to talk to me. We're going to have a Zoom, so it's going to be video. So I got to make sure my hair looks all good for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. He wants to talk to me about Janelle's case. They're thinking about doing some episode or something on, of course, her disappearance, her murder, the trial. Of course, we know that 48 Hours has already done that. And I have to tell you, I'm really happy that somebody, in contrast to 48 Hours, I'm glad that this production company has contacted me. And so I'm very happy to talk to them tomorrow morning. Looking forward to it. I have to tell you that I'm gonna just, I mean, they're not watching this anyway, but what I would like to do with this, given that I did go to Greeley, given that I was on the stand, given that everything that I did that nobody else did regarding Steve Pankey and Janelle's murder, if they're going to do an episode or something or a series of episodes on Janelle's murder, I would like to host it. I would like to appear on there, get paid to be on camera and whatever they're going to do. And that's what I'm going to pitch them tomorrow morning. That's what I'm going to do. I don't mind helping people out, of course, with the recent episode that was done on Tom Brown's murder under the Friday Night Lights. I talked about how much I helped them behind the scenes, giving them a lot of information, some insight. And I know a lot of people were disappointed with it. I remind everybody there's only so much they can do in an hour. But I think I can do more than that. I think that I think these TV shows could use some of my insight, I think is what I'm saying. So I'm going to talk to that guy about it. I don't know what he's going to say. Of course, they're in England. I'm here. I don't know how that would work. But I'm certainly going to bring it up when I talk to this person tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on. I was a member of Adventures with Purpose. Okay, Boston. Yeah, it's pretty cool, Boston. Carrie, they're about 5 hours ahead of you. I have a friend in London, speak to her often. Yeah, I think that's, I think I knew that, Carrie. Yes, 5 hours. So we'll see what happens there. If something happens and I can talk about it, you know that I will talk about it next week. Given that they're in England, I have a hard time believing that they will, come here and go to Greeley, Colorado. Maybe. I don't know. But that I have to tell you, it's certainly the first TV production company that's contacted me in 2022, and probably within the last year, that's only like the second one. The other one being the production company that did the hour-long show on Tom Brown's case, just to give you an update on all of that. Moving on. Unfound is going to be moving. Within a very short time frame, Unfound will not be anchored at Podomatic anymore. So any of you who listen to Unfound on the Podomatic app, and I'm a big fan of the app, I want you to know that I'm a big fan of Podomatic. I think that they've been very good. I have nothing bad to say about them. In fact, I would say that if anybody's thinking about starting your own podcast, I think you should consider Podomatic as being the podcasting platform that you consider. I think that they have good customer service and their rates are competitive and they give you great stats and everything else. But I'm moving. And I'll tell you where I'm going. I think I can talk about it now. Unfound is going to become part of Spotify. They emailed me, one of their reps emailed me out of nowhere last Monday or maybe a week and a half ago. And she is responsible for their news and politics section, which is what I consider Unfound to be. If you've ever gone to any of the podcast websites and look in the different sections, you'll probably always find Unfound in the news and politics section, is not in the entertainment section or anything like that. But this woman is responsible for finding good programs for Spotify to host, move that podcast to the next level, especially if the podcast already has a really good, decent audience. She approached me. We've had a couple conversations. We spoke yesterday, and I believe before the end of the week, I will be signing a contract with them to move Unfound over there. You will still be able to find Unfound everywhere that it is except Podomatic. You'll still be able to, it will still be on Apple Podcasts. It'll still be on iTunes, still be on Stitcher, still be on Podbean. Of course, we're already on Spotify, but that's because Podomatic arranged it. What it's also going to allow me to do is to work on monetizing Unfound. Now, before you get all scared about that, what I like, the big complaint that I've had, as you all know, regarding podcasting and monetization are ads. And my big complaint is how the ads seem to be just thrown in randomly. I have a big problem with that because, as you know, with Unfound, I tried to create a particular tone and mood for every episode. And it's a very serious mode and tone. Because why? Because that's the subject matter. It's very serious. It's as bad as life gets. My problem has been, you're listening to somebody else's podcast. It's about a serious topic. Then all of a sudden, right in the middle of a sentence, boom, ad. And it completely takes the listener out of it. And you're listening to this ad for a minute. Maybe there's 2 ads, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then they go back in and you kind of forget, well, where was I? I forget what they were saying. And of course, they make it that you can't skip through them and everything else. I hate it. What I'm going to be doing with Spotify is different. Spotify allows you, with their program called Megaphone, to place the ads where you want them. So they don't put the ads in the program. You put the space in where it will play. What this will allow me to do is keep ads away from the interview, which is the most important part of the episode anyway. I love the first 7 or 8 minutes. I love my summations at the end, but we all know the most important part of any Unfound episode is that interview, period. Whether it's an hour and a half long or 3 hours long. And my fear has always been getting in with some company like that, and all of a sudden there's these ads that are just being thrown right into the middle of the interview, and it ruins it. Not to mention how it seems like a lot of these ad companies have mission creep. You start with 1 ad, and before you know it, you're listening to that podcast, and there's 6 ads, and it's only an hour long. That will not happen with Spotify because I'm going to have control over how many ads are in the program and when they play. So that is intriguing to me. It's a situation I've been looking for. As, of course, as podcasting technology has progressed, we have now gotten to this point. What it will also allow me to do is when I record the episode, my part of it, I will be able to put in like an introduction before the ad starts, because I'll say, well, at the 2-hour mark, it's going to play. And I want to tell you, we're only going to be having 2 ads per program. 1 is going to be at the beginning before the episode ever starts. So that won't interrupt anything. So when you go to play it, it'll start that, and then you'll hear my voice. Where the other one will probably be much later in the episode after the interview is played. And once again, 2, that's it. And trust me, that'll be plenty. That'll be plenty. Looking at the dollars involved, because you all must understand something. The episodes themselves make no money at all. 0. And as I was talking to this woman, this representative for them, and she knows how many downloads Unfound gets, it's safe to say that Unfound is the only podcast with that many downloads that makes no money. That's what Unfound has become. I already gave you the numbers for 2021, the amount of downloads that the program had in 2021. I mean, I know there are way many podcasts that have way bigger numbers, but for me, the number was mind-boggling. And already I can tell you in 2022, we're going to pass that number in 2022. I already know we're going to pass it. So, and being that they found me and I didn't have to go to them also was very attractive to me. That they're out there looking for it. They want Unfound. Instead of me, emailing people, hey, will you take my podcast? It just feels a little pathetic. That they came to me means a lot to me. So that is what is going to be happening. Now, you're saying, well, what about YouTube and the ads on there? Yep, those are going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change there. But Marlene, you're saying, I was mentioning the ads when I was listening to your interview with Angela Perry. There were a lot. That is YouTube, Marlene, not me. Now, does Unfound make a small percentage? Yes. But yes. People talking. Carrie says, I prefer Spotify, my favorite platform. I think that's the other thing. I am a member. I am a subscriber to Spotify and have been for a long time, even well before I started Unfound. So there's that too. Jasmine says, yes, I think this is a good idea if this moves the podcast forward and reach more people. I dislike ads, but I think there's an option to pay to listen without them. I'm down for that. You work hard. I feel like I owe it to you. No one works for free. Well, and I heard you talk about this on your newsletter, which was really good. We'll still be on YouTube. There will be no restrictions on YouTube at all. I'm free. I still own Unfound, the files and everything. So I'm free to do with what I want with the files. They do not own the program. I own the program. They are using Unfound to make money for themselves, and I'm providing the program in which they can make ads. They're getting paid to make put ads in programs, and I'm getting paid to provide my programs so they can do that. That's how it works. And of course, it's all based on how popular a program is. Imon says, hello, I'm very late. That's okay, Imon. The only person that's not allowed to be late is me. We're moving on to the east side. Yeah. When anchored on Spotify, will the podcast still be syndicated and available in podcatchers such as Google Podcasts on Android? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. How do you see any return for premium members that listen to your podcasts? How do you see any return for premium members that listen to your podcasts on YouTube? The thing is, Boston, you have to understand something. YouTube, as far as the episodes playing there, is such a small percentage of the overall downloads. I think that, just to put, once again, Boston, I don't like to talk about the numbers, but I've had to look at them recently because of what's been going on. You need to understand something, Boston. You look at any of these recent episodes that have been posted on YouTube, they have about 1,200 views, which is nice. Unfound gets 400,000 downloads a month. Audio, that doesn't count YouTube. So YouTube, when it comes to the episodes themselves, is a small secondary market. It just is, according to the numbers. So, but I can still, they'll still be posted there because I know some people are there, and I'm not here to take that away from them. Yeah, so it'll still be on YouTube. Don't you worry. But the change is coming. And like I said, the number, I will just say, if the download numbers were not what they are, and once again, it's one of those things I've already told this person at Spotify, Here's what the Podomatic says the numbers are. I certainly hope that's true. But if the numbers weren't what they were, and this was a much smaller podcast, a lot less downloads, a lot less, then I probably would not see the benefit of changing. The problem is that there is it'll be a huge change, a huge benefit. It's going to be like night and day, big change. Boston says, I meant to say, do you receive a return on YouTube? I do, but it's not very much, Boston. It's not. I really don't. But, so like I said, Boston, maybe I was talking about this before you were in here talking about membership. That's going to be changing. We're going to try to maximize YouTube as much as we can. But I also understand that Unfound is an audio program, not a video program. Everybody has to understand that. It is an audio program. What you are doing here and everything is all secondary to the audio program that comes out every Friday. So that is always the main concentration. As Cherie says, nothing is really changing as far as free content goes. Ads will be placed on Spotify episodes, and there will be a channel membership available, but everything's offered at no cost. Remains the same. That's right. But for those of you, the biggest inconvenience is going to be for those of you who have the Podomatic app, and it's a dang shame because the Podomatic app is fantastic. But for anybody who listens to it on Podomatic, you're going to have to change. That's just the way it is. For everybody else, if you listen on iTunes or Stitcher or somewhere or on YouTube, you won't see any change at all. Moving on, very quickly, I posted the part 2 of the transcription from the Greeley, Colorado, me going to Greeley, Colorado and testifying. The reason it was in 2 parts is because 2 different stenographers did 2 different sections. So the first part, when I was on the stand on Thursday, that was one stenographer. But when I came back on Friday, it was a different stenographer, and she was backed up or something. And so I had to wait until just this past week when she finally emailed me and says, yeah, I'm ready to, take care of this. So that's why I didn't release my entire transcription at one time. 2 different people working at 2 different rates. But getting part 2 only cost me $9. So if you'd like to read the second part of the transcription from the Greeley, from the Steve Pankey trial with me on the stand, it is now posted in the discussion group as a file, as a PDF file. And also at the website, you'll just go there and you will see that, and you just have to click on it to download it. It's not very long, but what you will read there is everything that I said after the interview was done playing. A little bit from Michael Rourke, the prosecutor asked me a couple questions. The defense asked me a couple questions. Then a member of the jury asked me a question, and then it was done. That's what you're going to read. It's not very heavy reading. You'd probably read through it in maybe 7 to 10 minutes. But I know I wanted to get it because it's very interesting to me to look back and read what I said and what was going through my mind at the time. But I know all of you were very interested in me appearing there, and you didn't get a chance to see it on TV and everything. So the transcription is the next best thing. So I hope you will read it. If you're interested, I hope you will check it out. Boston says, I clicked the purple podcast app on my phone. Is that staying the same? I believe it is. I believe. Boston says, so much info. Boston, as you know, we're all about content here. We're all about episodes. We're all about live shows. We're all about transcriptions. We're all about map analysis. We're all about, all these different things. I have to say it has to be of any podcast out there that we do more than most. And as Cherie and I were even talking within this past week, most podcasts that are audio don't even have a YouTube channel. They don't even have one. Don't have the time, don't see the value of it, whatever reason. Why I don't know. It's work, but it's not that much work. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having the YouTube channel, even though I realize it's a secondary market. I don't know. Yeah. I clicked purple too, and you won't have to change that if you don't want to. Okay. One thing, moving on, and I mentioned earlier that, Cherie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the first things you ever did for Unfound was contacting some of these people who were tangentially connected to the disappearance of Kara Nichols, right, Cherie? Am I remembering that correctly from back in 2018? If I'm wrong, or you can just, of course, Cherie never hesitates to say that I'm wrong. Never hesitates to say that. But that's the way I remember it. Well, I don't know how many of you know about Kara Nichols' disappearance, but she disappeared, I think, back in 2012 from Colorado Springs, Colorado. She was living with some guys, and allegedly she was going for a modeling assignment, or she was going to get pictures taken of herself. She had been on that site modelmayhem.com. However, she did have a drug addiction. We almost covered this disappearance on Unfound. This close. I spoke to her mother twice. But to be honest, I don't think that Kara Nichols' mother was too keen on appearing on Unfound. I would say that we got along, but she was not too keen on it. No credit. I don't know her personally, and whether people want to appear on the program or not is totally up to them. I do not, judge them or anything. But Cherie, you actually spoke to Kara's roommates, who were all guys. You spoke to them at the time, and I know that Cherie and I at the time, like I said, this is going back a few years now, even talked about the possibility that these roommates were actually responsible for her disappearance. It seems now that we were wrong. Her remains were found. In what I read regarding it, some tip came in recently that pointed investigators to this Burgess Street address in Colorado Springs. I checked it. It was about 13 miles away from where Kara was living at the time. Now, the story was that some guy showed up in a car. She went out into the car, got into the car, never seen again. And people were saying, well, she said she was going to be going to California, or she was going to Las Vegas or something for some modeling gig. And that's when she disappeared. And Cherie and I were, fairly suspicious. Do we think that this guy really did pick her up or whatever else? It does seem now that is what happened. Now, whether she ever really did go to Las Vegas or LA or anything, I think we have to doubt that. But her remains were found on Burgess Street, off of Burgess Street. And the guy's name is Joel Hollendorfer or Dorfer. And he actually has a Facebook page that I found today. And he has now been charged with Kara's murder. Now, I went back because I keep all of my notes from every conversation that I've ever had since I started Unfound, going back to 2016. I have them on some, external drive or something. I went back and looked at my notes from my conversations with Kara's mother. Joel's name never came up. And Cherie, I'm wondering, did that name sound familiar to you? Did any of those roommates ever mention this Joel guy? I don't even know. So I don't know what to make of this. Did her mother not know this guy? Did she not, or was she holding back? I have no idea. But I have to admit, given that I get so caught up just on working on the cases that are going to happen for Friday episodes, I'm not saying I forgot about Kara. As soon as I saw the news, I knew exactly what it was. I knew who she was. I could see a picture of her in my mind and kind of the general circumstances. But other than that, I had kind of forgotten about it. And it, like I was just saying earlier in this show, it's one of those disappearances you wonder, the details are so nebulous. Who are you supposed to believe? I mean, anything could have happened. Or she could have ended up in Pennsylvania, Canada, anything. So that her disappearance, her remains have been found, and somebody has been charged with her death. Once again, surprising. Now, what happened? I will tell you this, in looking at this guy's, Joel Hollendorfer's Facebook page, you can go back to 2012, I think was the year. And he's a father, he has a couple children, posted a lot of pictures of his kids. A lot of pictures. She disappeared in October of 2012. A lot of pictures of his kids in September of 2012, but then there are no posts for a year. And then all of a sudden, he started posting again in October of 2013. How he knew Kara, I don't know. Hopefully, we will get some information regarding that. It came on a tip. I don't know what that tip was. It just says that a tip came into them. Police should be looking for her remains off of Burgess Street, and should look at this guy, and I guess they put it all together finally. So there you go. I don't know how many of you knew about Kara Nichols' disappearance, but you should go look it up. I will go through the facts again. She seemed to be a very troubled young woman. Addiction, I guess, was trying to be a model, but I'm wondering if that was kind of headed in the direction of prostitution, other things. And the story was that she was living with these other guys in this place, and they said that some guy came to pick her up and they never saw her again. Turns out these guys were probably telling the truth. I will be honest that I think Sheree and I doubted them. It seems they were telling the truth, but they, as you're now seeing Sheree saying that in the chat, she does not remember Joel's name either. How he stayed out of my notes, how her mother didn't mention him. Did she not know? I don't know. I don't know if I ever know that. So it's always weird to me. Maybe this is the second or third disappearance that has been solved, and Unfound was this close to covering the disappearance at one time or another. Maybe the second, third example of that. So it's always interesting to me when they do get solved, and we were considering covering the disappearance that get solved, and everything that happened. Delane is getting out of here. Delane, it was great to see you. I know you're going through a lot right now. Good to see you. Thanks for making time for the live show tonight. Wondery has too many ads in search in as much, in my opinion, as much as I like them. Wondery is known for that. Right. Carrie says, we won't tell Ed. We all keep tally marks of when we tell Ed he is wrong. I know that. Boston says, Lord, I was on that website until that happened. I got my first headshots through that website. In hindsight, that was so dumb of me. Yeah, Boston, I don't know much about Model Mayhem, but she was on there. I got the idea back at the time that yes, there was a lot of legitimate modeling going on there, but there was a lot of legitimate prostituting going on there too. But that was my impression. Shree says, definitely one of the first things that I worked on for Unfound. Was that before Amanda Fravel? Don't remember, Shree. I did talk to the team, all of them, and they all seemed sketchy, but I always thought it was the dude who lured her to take modeling photos. Okay. Never heard. Shree's saying she never heard of Joel's name before. Shree, none of the roommates named Joel. However, they all had the same story. She left her modeling job. One of them even described the vehicle. She was not like a Mercedes or BMW, something like that. Shree, I was super shocked. 10 years. I've often thought about Kara. I asked you about her a year ago. I remember that. Boston, yep, my obvious the headshot I got from Model Mayhem photographer. It was a very bad decision. I was very inexperienced. Boston, it was really just a photo shoot, but it was in a brick building in the middle of nowhere. Anything could have happened. Yeah, Boston, you got to watch yourself. Shri says he could have been about 35 and a teen working on a modeling career, so I can see it happening. Yeah. Shri says, I'm willing to bet that Joe is responsible for other disappearances. Yes, man, I do remember. Mercedes, man, I do remember that. I guess my mind is not yet going, Shri. These people take advantage of young, innocent girls. That's true. So if you saw that news regarding Karen Nichols, you should know that it was this close. We almost covered it on Unfound. And like I said, I got along with her mother just fine, but she was not in the mood to do an interview. So there you go. One thing I do want to talk about before, I'm not going to read the entire article though, is the state of Iowa is starting a missing persons page. There are currently 300 Iowans missing. Now, the reason I bring up the state of Iowa is because Jody Huisentruit disappeared from that state. It's probably one of the more prominent disappearances that we've covered on Unfound, and she is on this site. But Iowa just started this. I've not had a chance to really look at it, in depth or anything like that. If it's, I just read a news story on it. I haven't even gone there. I don't know what it looks like or anything, but it would be nice if more states started to do that. So we'll see if that can move any of the disappearances forward. I do remember back at one time, Iowa had a website of just prominent unsolved cases, and Jody's was on that as well. But I think it was a combination of missing people and unsolved murders or mysterious deaths. It was a combination of things. It wasn't just missing persons. But it sounds to me like this site will be nothing but missing persons. 300 currently missing, and Iowa's not that big of a state. It's not that populated, and they have 300. I hope this helps. I really do. All right, so let's move on to this Friday's episode, as we always do at the end of every live show, going way back to the beginning. This Friday, we're going to be covering the disappearance of Sebastian Kelly. This is a disappearance that I would say is not very well known, even though it is on NamUs, even though it is on the Charlie Project. We're going to Maine for the first time, the Westbrook/Portland area. Sebastian Kelly, 30 years old, young man. Last time he spoke to anybody that we can trust was on June 19th of 2017. That just happens to be Father's Day in 2017. His sister, Adrienne Rush, first name Adrienne, Adrienne, last name Rush, Rush, is the guest. I just interviewed her on Sunday night after the think tank. And the name of this episode the title of it is Hit to the Head. And the reason that is all of you will get to contemplate not long before he went missing, within hours that things started to get shaky. Sebastian had gotten beaten up. Some guys had showed up at his apartment and beaten him up to the point. I already posted a picture in the discussion group and on the Facebook page. Swollen eyes shut, lipped really messed up, bruising on his face. He really got beat up. And you will hear his sister talk about why that happened. And you're going to be asked to decide, did this fight, this attack, have something to do with his disappearance, or didn't it? It also gives us a chance to consider the Natasha Richardson effect. When people do go missing after possible injury, maybe being that we've been talking about Mara Murray, is it possible that she got a head injury when she wrecked her car, she ran off, and that's what caused her to never come back? You might consider that. We have covered some disappearances. We might think about the idea of somebody suffering a head injury and disappearing. Maybe, of course, Jason Landry, Kevin Newen, Jacob Paddock Weeks, maybe a woman, maybe Crystal Bailey, maybe. This will be one of those kinds of disappearances that, and unfortunately, Sebastian did have a drug problem. He was having some relationship problems. And as you know, we cover it all in the discussion I had with his sister Adrian, who I thought did a fantastic job with the interview. Why did it take this so long to get to the state of Maine? I have no idea. It does seem that we, for a long time, had a problem with some of those states in the Northeast. For a long time, we never covered disappearances in Delaware and Maryland. Then all of a sudden, we did that consecutive weeks. But we're close. We're getting closer to covering a disappearance in every 50 states. I know that we haven't gone to Hawaii yet, but we can now mark the state of Maine off the list. Let's see here. It took the time we were looking at. Cherise, it looks like at the time we were looking at someone who else found the missing piece. The timing works out. Oh, okay. Well, is very scary. Boston, I was very naive. Boss, great job on Aaron. Sorry, I meant to say that earlier. Thank you. Oh, yeah, Aaron Knabel. Yeah. Aaron and Michael did great interviews. Thank you. Marlene says, this is off the subject, Ed. Your hair looks great. Marlene, just keep those compliments coming. Just keep them coming. Thank you. I gotta be honest with you. I haven't washed my hair since yesterday morning. So there's that. For me, when I show up for this live show, as long as the hair looks okay and I'm decently shaven, I could have probably shaved before doing the show tonight. As long as that's good, then the show must go on. But thank you, Marlene. You're very kind. Thanks. I do try to, look presentable when I show up. Carrie says, jots down search for missing persons case in Hawaii. Yeah, let's do it, Carrie. Let's do it. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. Man, the time goes so fast. So what did we do tonight? I talked about still being here, and you can expect probably at least the next 2 live shows to come from Pennsylvania. It's been cold, but it's gotten warmer. The snow is melting. I wish it would just snow about 10 more feet. I was down at my brother Michael's, over to my sister Diane's this past weekend. Talked a little bit about some food issues that I have, FODMAP, staying away from foods that ferment. Talked about the Andrea Knabel Poll, Brandon Lawson, YouTube membership. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. And I hope you will consider becoming a member of the channel. Dennis Bowman, TV show meeting tomorrow. Unfound is moving to Spotify / Megaphone. Megaphone is their podcast platform that's it enables everything to happen. Transcriptions part 2 posted on the website. Karen Nichols, and look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just finishing up the show, and look who makes an appearance.
I'm heading for bed.
He's going to bed. And so, all right, good seeing you, Dad. So there's Edward C. Densel. And we talked about Karen Nichols, disappearance we almost covered on Unfound. And then I just wanted to tell you all about the Iowa Missing Persons website that's starting. And then we finished it up, Friday's episode, the disappearance of Sebastian Kelly from Westbrook / Portland, Maine. All done. Great night. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to give this video a thumbs up before you leave. Thank you all for watching. You will hear me Friday. And some of you will see me in the think tank, but that won't be till Monday. Good night. Yes. Bye, Mr. Densey. Yes, thank you. Yeah, you're saying goodbye to my dad? That's nice, Jasmine. Everybody have a great night. Great seeing all of you. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you take a little piece of your Wednesday night, devote it to this show. Like I said, luckiest guy in the world. Good night.